America is the first country founded on the basis of right-wing ideology. Right-wing, of course, being individualism, crass individualism, individual liberty, individual freedoms. We would call it liberalism. I guess now we have to call it classical liberalism or libertarianism because the left has co-opted the term to use it as its inverse definition. The left is collectivist, the needs of the many outweighing the needs of the few, the exact opposite of liberalism, but they will still call themselves liberal. The idea of crass individualism, however, is a direct threat to freedom and liberty. Let me explain. The right is very good at dealing with internal threats. An internal threat would be a threat to you as an individual. People on the right, not as an absolute, but as a general rule, a generality, people on the right are healthier, more mature, more self-reliant, less dependent on the rest of society. People on the left, however, have or tend to be more unhealthy, whether it's mentally, emotionally, or physically. But the left has an extreme advantage at dealing with external threats. The left is extremely good at sensing external threats and moving to solve it. If the left sees a problem in society, the left will band together as their collective to work to solve that problem. You may think that their solution is 180 degrees from right. You may vehemently disagree with their methods, but you cannot deny how good they are at banding together to try to solve these problems. The right, however, are terrible at dealing with external threats. The right, because it's about crass individualism, just want to be left alone. So people on the right will generally watch as society gets destroyed, as people's rights are stripped away one by one. They'll watch their neighbors hauled away, black bagged, their children taken from them, and they'll just let it happen until that jackboot finally comes to their door. But, there's that old Holocaust saying, I didn't stand up because I wasn't attacked, but by the time they finally came for me, there was no one left to stand up. That's generally a problem with right-wing individualism. There are 4 boxes of liberty: the soapbox, the ballot box, the jury box, and the ammo box. Easiest example to use as this is the ammo box. The ammo box, of course, being in America the Second Amendment, your right to self-defense, your right to bear arms. Few people on the right, not everybody on the right, but a few organizations like the NRA, the Gun Owners of America, a few other organizations will work to protect Second Amendment rights. It's not a lot of people. The left, however, will completely band together to strip the Second Amendment, to strip guns away from the citizen. And they will use their entire media apparatus to do it. They will ban anyone who wants a gun as a gun nut. They will label anyone who wants a gun as not caring about protecting children. They'll complain that the NRA spends $29 million every year lobbying politicians, while they have no issues with Planned Parenthood spending $200 million lobbying politicians, and that's an organization that actually kills children. But majority of people do not care about all 4 ballot boxes. They'll only care about all 4 boxes of liberty. The ballot box is only one of them. They won't care about each individual box being threatened because it's not the box that they care about. They won't care about the ballot box being threatened. The left will say, oh, if you want better election audits or things like that, then you want to restrict people's voting rights away. No, you want to make sure that people who did vote legally, their votes weren't stripped away by illegal votes. It's everything is 180 degrees from fact, but they will use their entire media and collective apparatus to work together to solve their problems. People on the right won't do this. Why? Because freedom is an anomaly. You may be right-wing. You may care about freedoms, but does your neighbor? More often than not, they won't. Freedom is an anomaly. People do not want to be free. When you are free comes responsibility. And having responsibility also means that you have to take risks. It means that you are also up for blame. But if you're just a lowly worker listening to a boss who's telling you what to do, you've abdicated responsibility, and that's a much more comfortable society. Eichmann once wrote a book called The Banality of Evil, all about how people will use the excuse, I'm just following orders. For instance, my father recently died on a ventilator at a hospital. I am a firm believer that he died because of the ventilator. The ventilator was not saving his life, it killed him. But I'm not going to blame the doctor for putting him on the ventilator because he was following the protocol as outlined by the state. If he didn't follow that protocol, he could get sued. But because he was following the protocol, he's protected, and he will, even if he may think that it's a risk, he'll follow the protocol to protect himself. He'll use the excuse, I'm just following orders. That is the banality of evil. People will do evil things to protect themselves. In America, we are founded on this individualistic ideology, and we're willing to let all our freedoms go away to remain as individuals, to say fuck you to authority. Think about it. You look at Eastern nations, a lot of nations in the old world, they have strong familial ties. People will live in their home communities for decades upon decades. They will be born there. They will die there. Maybe sometime in the middle of their life, they'll go on walkabout. They'll go on Rumspringa. They'll go try to find themselves. But before you know it, they'll be back. They'll be back with their home community, because that is their home. That's where their heart is. In America, we don't have that. We have a society where as soon as a kid is old enough, they will, first thing they do, get on a plane, go halfway across the country, get as far away from their closest authority as possible. Their closest authority to any child is their parents. They'll go to college for 4 years on the other side of the country to study for some degree that they don't care about just because they want to be free away from their parents and on their own. This doesn't happen in a lot of places because people do not want in America to be subject to authority. At the same time, they don't want to be free. It's very bizarre. It's a very contradictory country that we have, and that's why people will generally fight against freedom while also being individualistic, and that freedom and individualism will always be at odds because people will not fight on the right, and they will lose their freedoms because of it. And I think it was Reagan. Reagan once said that freedom is not passed in the bloodstream. It is not handed down from father to son, parent to child. It has to be fought for, or one day kids will grow up asking their grandparents, what was it like when people were once free? And I'm adding on to it, but the only necessity for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Anyways, that was today's discussion. I just wanted to talk about how the inherent dangers of right-wing idealism, and how I said in the previous video, you can't be absolutely right because you have to have that sense of community to fight for it. If there's a topic you want me to talk about, please leave a comment. If you have any responses to any of my videos, just leave comments. I do read them. Not a lot of comments because it's still a small channel. It's still new. Anyways, peace out, and I'll see you next week.